and welcome to another instalment of MTD Together. We have with us today Ashley and Dave from Absolute. I'm very much excited to hear more about this bridging solution, as I know a lot of us are. Without delaying everything, let's get on and let Ashley tell you first a bit about her role at Absolute, and then we'll have Dave introduce himself as well, if that's okay. So Ashley, tell us a bit about you and your role.
Hi everyone. I've been working with Absolute since 2010. I'm the support director there. Been involved with supporting customers and then a product development role in terms of our MTD VAT software and now the MTD income tax software. Dave and I have worked together for 21 years. So we started off in PTP and then ended up in Absolute. Pass over to you, Dave.
Okay, hello there. Actually stole all of my thunder. Hang on. So I started working for PTP in 2002 with Tim Good, then Iris PTP 07 to 2010, and I've been at Absolute since 2010 as well. I'm the sales director here. That's about it really. I mean, I tend to liaise with the clients a lot and sort of manage the staff really. But it runs quite smoothly, I think, so I don't have to do a lot.
So who's your favourite staff member, Dave?
Well, I'd have to say the other support director, who's Sarah Murray, who I'm married some time ago, so I have to say her.
I'm second favourite.
Okay, well that's our first bit of insight.
A little bit about it's a very small team. We've all worked together for a very, very long time now, PTP days. We've taken on 2 or 3 members of staff over the years, and the best thing you can say about working for Absolute, I was going to say PCP then, for Absolute is no one has ever resigned or gone elsewhere. So I think that's probably a fair testament to working for the company.
That's a really nice thing to hear. So we're going to see how that flows into your software development, I suppose. We have for you, well, Ashley has prepared for us a pre-recorded demo. So we're going to share that pre-recorded demo. Before I do that, just a reminder that please utilize the chat box to ask any questions or to chat with each other as we go along, but also the Q&A box is open and we will monitor that. We can stop the recording to ask questions. I've put Ashley in charge of that. If she thinks there's a question that we should stop for, then we will stop and we will answer that question. Otherwise, we will come to the questions once we've finished watching the demo. So let's go for this.
This video is to show you the demonstration of the Absolute Excel income tax filer bridging software. It is an easy to use Excel-based product that has been designed for both agents and individuals to submit quarterly income and expenses under MTD. The software will also allow you to file accounting adjustments, cover non-mandated income sources and file the final declaration, or you can use it for simply just filing your quarterlies and then complete the rest of the process through a separate tax return package. If you wish to purchase a license, you would go onto the website, which is absolutexcelincomeTaxfiler.co.uk, and there's the option on the right-hand side where you can purchase a license. The cost is £40 plus VAT for 5 national insurance numbers, and once a license is purchased, we will email you a link with the username and password for your online client portal. It is through here that you can then start adding the taxpayers and make your submissions online to HMRC. When you sign into your online client portal, you will need to grant authority at HMRC, which lasts for 18 months. As an agent, it will ask you to do this when you first access the software, and you would then go through the process of granting authority using your agent services account details. This will last for 18 months and it will enable you to file for any client as an agent. If you've registered as an individual, you will be first asked to set up the taxpayer, and then you will grant authority against the taxpayer so that if you've got multiple individuals within the same account, you can then authorise them using their own personal tax account details. The process to authorise is really straightforward. You would just click on to grant authority at HMRC. It will then ask you to sign into your account. And it's at this point that you would then enter your login details. Once you've entered your online filing details, you would then click into Give Permission, and then it will redirect you back to the client portal, and it's from here that you can start adding the taxpayers as an agent. To do this, you would click on to Add Taxpayer, and then you'd simply fill in the taxpayer information. So if I just enter the national insurance number, and then if you scroll down, it gives you the option to say whether the client is VAT registered or not. This tick box relates to the digital record keeping spreadsheet, which is one of the options on how to file on a quarterly basis, which I will cover later in the video. If you tick to say that they're VAT registered, it just means that on the downloaded template, there are also columns for input and output VAT, so that you can record those on the same spreadsheet. So I'll tick to say that they're VAT registered, and then we'll cover that later in the demo. So once the taxpayer is created, they will then appear in the list of clients. It's from here then that you can access the online filing obligations. So it will connect to HMRC to pull down any businesses that the client has and split between the 4 quarters. And you can also, through this system, edit the taxpayer details to change it from a standard quarter to a calendar quarter election. If you want to make the calendar quarter election, you just simply click onto the Edit button, and then from here you would do Action, Calendar Election. You can select the tax year that you're concerned with, and what it will then do is it will show you what the current quarter type is set as, and then you can switch it to say that you want to do a calendar election for that particular business. That is done on a business by business basis against the individual taxpayer. Once you've done that, you can then go back to the taxpayers window, and then if you select the taxpayer name, it is from here that you can then access the spreadsheets and see the status of the current obligations. If I switch it to 25-26, so if you've got any clients that you've signed up for the beta, or if you're interested in still signing up for that, you can use the software to submit income and expenses from the 6th of April 2025. When you come to submit your quarterly income and expenses to HMRC, there are 2 spreadsheet options available within the Excel bridging package. So you've got a bridging spreadsheet, which has been designed to link to current existing Excel files. And then there's also the digital record keeping DRK spreadsheet. You can decide which version of the spreadsheet you use depending on the client that you're dealing with. The bridging one was produced on the basis of a client already using Excel to store their income and expenses, and so don't want to change the template that they use. The DRK was designed so that as an accountant, you could send the template to your clients. They can log the income and expenses on a quarterly basis, send the file back to you, and you can then upload at the end of each quarter, but it just means that all of the data is in the same format. So when you go into the obligations, you've got the option of bridging, which is the one that you can download to link to an existing file, or you've got the DRK. The DRK will then include columns for VAT if you've ticked to say that the client is VAT registered. So if I just click to download the copies of the spreadsheets, and then I can go through them with you. So on screen, you've got the self-employment bridging spreadsheet. The UK property one will work in a similar way. The headings will reflect the current property pages of the form. The headings on screen here are those for the income and expenses as per the SA 103 self-employment pages of an individual tax return. What you have down the left-hand side is your income headings. You'll then have a breakdown of your expenses, any disallowable expenses, and then you've got the option to link a consolidated figure. Therefore, for any client where their turnover is below the current limit, you can just link one consolidated expense figure and submit this on a quarterly basis. What we've also got is a cash book that we've just put together for the purposes of the demo. So it's just split out income and expenses, and then that's summarised onto a total. So what you would do then to link them is you would click into Link Cells, and then you would select the cell that you want to link. So initially, if I choose Income Turnover, and then from here, what I can do is bring up the cash book and click into the income turnover box, click on OK, and then that will copy the information back onto the bridging file. And then you just simply go through and link all of the cells that you need to. So if I choose Income Other, I can then select the Other box. That will take me back into the bridging spreadsheet, and then I can just move on to the next section. So for example, if I say staff costs, I can then select the cell, go back through into travel costs, And then I can go through and link items such as professional fees and any other expenses. So if I click into other, I can then bring up the cash book, select that value, and then when I go back into the bridging file, that then has linked across. If I then click on the finish button, this is then the information that I would upload to HMRC for the end of the quarter. On screen at the minute is the property bridging spreadsheet. So I just wanted to show you this. It works in a similar way to the self-employment. So it just lists out the income sources, the property expenses, and there's also an option for consolidated expenses. That will also allow you for clients that have joint properties where HMRC have introduced an easement for the 26-27 tax year that you can file just a consolidated figure and then adjust for it at the year end. The process of linking the spreadsheet is the same, so you would use the link cells option, and then you can click into the cell that you want to link, and then you would just select the cell from your relevant spreadsheet and then click on OK for that data to be moved across onto the bridging file. So once you've linked the bridging spreadsheet for either self-employment or property income, you would then go back to the client portal and you would upload the file, and this is where you would then send the income and expenses quarterly to HMRC. To do the upload, you'd select the icon in the upload column within the client portal. You'd select the Excel file that you've completed. This will then summarise what you've linked, so it will show you the turnover and other income along with the expenses that you've linked. And then you would click on Submit Periodic Update, and this will then upload the data to HMRC. Once the data has been transmitted, there's an option to download a PDF copy, so you can print that for your records or email a copy to your client. It will summarise the details that you've transmitted, and you've also got the option where it will redirect you through to either the agent services account or the personal tax account to see the tax calculation as per HMRC. Later in the year, we will be adding a SA302 tax calculation into the bridging software. Currently, you'd need to access that via the HMRC account, but what that will also show you is any other income that HMRC know for the client, such as employment income or state benefits, and they also will run a forecast calculation, so you can view that as well. The other spreadsheet option that you've got within the Excel income tax file or bridging software is the digital record keeping DRK file. This is what is currently on screen, and what you've got is a tab for self-employment and UK property where you or your client can log the individual transactions, and you've also then got summary tabs for each type. If your client's got multiple UK properties, they can just log them all into one spreadsheet and upload total income and expenses relating to all UK properties on a quarterly basis. So what the spreadsheet has is the option for input and output VAT, and they are controlled by whether you've ticked to say the client's VAT registered or not. And then you've also got the various income and expense headings. So all your client would do is they would log their transactions as they work their way through the period, and then they would just split it out to say whether it was income, expenses, log it into each relevant heading, and then what they've got is a summary tab so that they can check the totals against any other records that they may hold. From there, what you would then do is this is the file that would be uploaded. So if you've sent it to your client for them to complete on a quarterly basis, they would just email that to you, and then you would upload that via the client portal. The process to upload the DRK spreadsheet is the same as the bridging files. So you would log back into the client portal, and then you would click onto the upload button on the relevant period. It will ask you to browse to the file, so you just select that, and then again all it does is it will summarise the income and expenses that have been recorded as per the summary tab, and then again you would click on to submit periodic update, and this will then again summarise what has been transmitted with the option to download a PDF receipt. At this point, you can transfer the data then into a tax return package. So as an accountant, if your client, for example, is filing their own quarterlies, they can have done that using the bridging software, and then you can complete the process through your tax return package. You can also, for clients with simple tax affairs, use the bridging software to complete the whole process. So the next step would be to make any accounting adjustments by way of the BSAS, Business Source Adjustable Summary, and the Annual Summary, and also then to file any non-mandated income and the final declaration. So to make the accounting adjustments, you would select the taxpayer, and then from here what you can do is you can click into the accounting adjustments option, select the business that you want to make the adjustments for, and then this is where you can increase or decrease what has currently been filed with HMRC. These figures are coming from the HMRC test system, but what this will do is it will show you the total year-to-date values that you filed, and then you've got the option where you can make an increase or decrease. Check the relevant total on the right-hand side, and then you can resubmit those adjustments to HMRC. So what this does is it gives you any income, any expenses. So if I just go through and put in any adjustments that I would want to make. And then if you scroll further down, you've got the option where you can claim your disallowable expenses. So you can make a disallowable adjustment. And then you can also make any adjustments if you've got any basis period or average adjustments to make. And you can also claim any capital allowances. So this information is what HMRC currently hold, and then you can just increase or decrease as needed. Once you've made the adjustments on screen, what you would then do is you would click on to submit adjustments, and this will then file the information back to HMRC, and it will readjust the client's account. As per any other filing window, there's the option where you can download a PDF copy, and you can also reconnect through to the Within the bridging software, you will also be able to file some non-mandated income sources. These are accessed by going into the other income option within the taxpayer. The list on screen are those that will be supported by the bridging package. If you've got a taxpayer who's got more complex affairs, then you will need to either use a tax return package to submit the other income online to HMRC, or we've got a separate standalone tax return package that you can purchase alongside the bridging software that will cover all of the other non-mandated income sources. That product is called Top Up Tax. The cost is £25 plus VAT for 5 taxpayers. When you go into other income, it will list the sources that we cover. Currently, we support UK savings, UK dividends, and pension contributions. The other options listed on screen that include foreign interest and dividends, CIS, gifted, student loans, high income child benefit charge, and marriage allowance transfer will be added as an option later in the tax year. To add the other income, you just drill into the section. So if I go into interest from UK savings as an example, what this will do is it will download from HMRC any savings income that has previously been filed. This does mean that as an agent or an individual taxpayer, you can submit the other non-mandated income more frequently than just as part of the year end. What the display shows is what HMRC currently hold. So you can drill down into the bank account and you can alter the figures if that's applicable, or if you need to, for bank interest as an example, you can then add a new savings account and then complete the income against it. If you go back to other income, you've also then got UK dividends, where you can list out if you've got other dividends, stock dividends, entries such as that. And then you've also, as I said, got pension contributions, where again, it will download from HMRC what they currently hold, and you can then make any adjustments if you need to. The other thing that you can then do as part of the bridging software is you can make the final declaration online to HMRC. And that is done through the calculations final option within the taxpayer window. As mentioned earlier in the demonstration, we will be looking to add an SA 302 summary tax calculation at a later point in the 26-27 tax year. That will be available to both agents and individuals. Once the year end has come and you wish to submit the final declaration, what you would then do is you would tell HMRC that it is your intent to finalise, and that will then trigger a final calculation. And then from there, what you can do is you can submit the final declaration. So this is the declaration to just say that everything has been filed in that tax year. So your quarterly income and expenses, any adjustments, and any non-mandated income. You'd click into the final declaration, It will give you a statement, which again, you will be able to print off a copy for your client's record as an agent. So you'll be able to send this as a covering letter to the SA 302. And then once you're happy with the information and everything has been approved, you would click onto the confirm button, and that will then give you a declaration to say that it's all been transmitted. And again, there's an option to download a PDF copy. If you did for any reason need to amend anything, you can, via the calculations option, you can then submit what's called an intent to amend, so that it then allows you to go through and you can submit any missing income and then refinalise with HMRC for the 25-26 or later tax years.
Ashley, that was well prepared in advance. We have got a good number of questions coming through, so I'm just going to chuck those questions at you, if that's okay. And the first question is something I asked you actually just before we went live about. Is this only available for agents at the moment, or can clients buy this directly?
Available for both.
We'll mute Dave. Sorry, Dave. Okay, that should be okay.
Yeah, so it's available for both individuals and agents.
We've already started selling software last week, and it's got about a 45% breakdown between agents and individuals.
Good. Okay, so an agent can give a link to their client to go and purchase that at the moment.
Yeah, basically the individual can just go online and purchase it via the website, and then part of the process of ordering is they've got to fill in a questionnaire to say whether they're an agent or an individual, and that just then determines how they authorize the software, whether it's done on as an agent through the ASA or using their personal details.
And that leads quite nicely onto the second question here. When we could see the link to have a look at the tax calculation that's generated, that would take us to the ASA account if we're an agent.
If you're an agent, it will take you through to the ASA. If you're an individual, it will go through to the personal tax account.
So I really like that tax calculation isn't right in somebody's face. I know that that's a controversial point, that some agents really like to have that there and some agents don't. I'm on the side of not liking that tax estimate to be too easy to see because we don't expect it to be very accurate.
Accurate at point.
Nice that we have the option to go and have a look at it if we want to, but
yeah, absolutely
in our face there. Good. Let's work through some more of these questions. So a question on the calendar year election.
Mm-hmm.
So when we sign clients up on the ASA account, we have the option to make that calendar election. Can it pull through that from the ASA account, or that is where we're making the declaration in your software?
You're doing it through, basically it downloads the data that's available from HMRC. So if they've done the calendar election and that's what the obligations are, then that's what we'll draw back. Otherwise you can make it through the software.
Absolutely perfect. I did like, we had quite a few questions on what is DRK, and I was racking my brains until you said it's digital record keeping. So can you just run through that a little bit more? So your DRK is that spreadsheet that can be sent to the client to mark down all of their transactions in the year.
It. Basically, when we signed up agents in the beta, it was one of the things that was asked for, where accountants wanted effectively a template to send to the client. They would effectively do the bookkeeping, and then the agent would file the quarterly. So we put together the DRK. If you look at it closely, we've removed headings for example, of the disallowable expenses, because we assumed the accountant would do those adjustments at the year end. So it literally is just basically a spreadsheet. They can log income and expenses, send that back to the accountant, and they'll just upload it on a quarterly basis.
And if the accountant wanted to, can they change the headings that are there? Can they amend that DRK?
No, the headings are prefixed.
Okay, so if an accountant liked your DRK, apart from they just wanted to add one more column, they could obviously do that by means of making their own spreadsheet, but then they would need to use the link function.
They'd have to use then the bridging spreadsheet to link it. That's it.
Okay, that makes sense. But keep the questions coming if I'm not covering the questions that you guys want in the chat. Good. So a question on foreign income and withholding tax. Is that something that can be facilitated using Absolute at the moment, or is that something that users?
It's something that will be coming later in the year, but it's not in there at the minute, but it is something we're looking to add later in the year.
That's really
so
good.
It will be in there before the first quarterly submission effectively.
Okay, that's really good to hear. Another question: where does HMRC get pension contributions for? Is one of the questions at the moment. That's going to be from the API system. So, if anything, all software is going to work in the same way here, that anything that's being drawn from HMRC is going to work off of an API system.
It is, yes.
So anything that draws back is going to be because HMRC have received it from third parties
Yes.
to put it on the API to draw it back in the system. So
that's it. So we'll display anything HMRC already have, and then you can just add to it to then resubmit to update the details effectively.
Good. And a question from Daniel here. If I purchase now, would the license be valid for 26, 27?
Yes, it will, absolutely.
Good. So that's like a really easy question. I thought maybe you would have to explain a little bit about how the licenses work, but no.
No,
So
no, the system's available now. People are using the system, obviously not the software because it's too early to submit. But if you signed up yesterday, you would have received access to versions of both of the spreadsheets, so you can have a play around with, get used to. You would have to re-engage with that process when they're ready to make the dates available, the way that Ash has just described about us pulling the dates from the review. We were told they won't be switching that part live until second half of March. But you have immediate access to the spreadsheets, get used to it, decide what you like, don't like, want to change, and you'll be able to start setting up your clients on the client hub, register them with the revenue should you wish. So yeah, and then it will just, you can follow as much as you want from the beginning of April through the full 12 months.
okay.
4 or 5 clients for £40.
Sounds very good. I think we're through all the questions
Bored
that are
everyone to death
currently.
now.
I think we're currently through the questions in the chat. So let me throw you some general questions.
Okay, yeah.
So tell me a bit about who is your ideal client? Is it anybody? Is it, how do you like working more with agents? You don't mind? Is there a particular USP out there?
To be honest, we're quite happy to work with both agents and individuals. In terms of the beta scheme, we've had 220 people sign up for 25, 26, and that's been basically a 52-48% split. But the way we've tried to do it is we've tried to bring on board accountants that have clients that have single sources of income, multiple sources of income. We've tried to bring on landlords, self-employed people that have got multiple businesses, multiple properties, things like that.
Is that your fire alarm?
Fire alarm, but apparently we can ignore it.
Okay. What great timing. Tell me a bit more about testing.
How? Please come to join me.
There we go.
I've lost connection. I'm coming over this side.
There we go. What a commute.
The dark side.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about the testing. So you guys really have been at the forefront of testing.
Yeah.
How has that process been for you guys getting recognized by HMRC? How did that process go, and how long ago did that happen for you?
So we started, to be honest, we've been trying to fully develop the product for about 2.5 years.
Yeah. Since we finished Blackfire,
and we got approval last year. Obviously, we were the first to do a 24-25 finalisation with Rebecca Bennyworth, which was really interesting. It was a really good process to go through.
And how long did that process take? Were there any sticking points? Was it frustrating?
There was a couple of problems with some of the documentation that HMRC had issued. They found a couple of issues with the finalisation that we flagged up because we were trying to go through that process. But once they ironed those out, it was a really straightforward process to go through. And then we've had, so we've done that with Rebecca. And then in terms of the actual beta, that's been really good because we just take on board, the way we work is we take on board customer feedback as much as we can. So it's been really nice to work with individuals and also agents. For example, that's where the DRK came from because agents asked for it. So we've developed it to try and make the process as easy as possible as we can do.
That's really nice.
We've helped us hone our messaging as well, where whatever we think is the best way to do it or the way it's going to be used. Until people start actively using it, you never know. So we are separating out the way that will support agents compared to individuals, which is something we do with our tax software, just to make sure we're not being expected to give tax advice, for instance. So telephone or email support for agents, email support for individuals, and the messaging is slightly different. Obviously, presumably an agent's likely to be using it more frequently than likely to be using it more frequently than an individual, whereas someone that's using it just once every 3 months probably needs a bit more hand-holding, and the guides that we put together reflect that. But we'll just be continually monitoring all the feedback and trying to tweak it as we go along. So.
Do you envisage lots of change in the next year as you get lots more people using the software, or are you hoping you're kind of done now?
I think we're hoping we're done. I think obviously the next steps for us is we're concentrating on getting foreign property in there before Q1, and then the tax calculation. The delay with the tax calculation has partly been because the documentation from HMRC hasn't yet been finalised, and the goalpost of when that's going to be keeps moving. It was supposed to be September, then December, and now it's June. But yeah, we're happy to take on board feedback. We're also waiting for information about how partner income is going to be dealt with, because that's something else that we'll look to put in there. We're trying to create the bridging software as a one-stop shop for an individual that has really basic affairs. They can just use the one product, but then because of the way you can download information from HMRC as an agent, you can then offload onto any tax return package to then complete the journey if you need to.
Is there a point at which you think that it's better for people to do that, or you would like, I suppose this is a silly question, you would like to see people use your full suite?
Yeah, definitely.
But I suppose for most agents, our process is that we have our end of year software sitting there.
Yeah.
I love that you acknowledge that, and that you know that is definitely something in the agent community that's quite important, the ability to use your software however we want to.
Yeah.
And then I like the bit about being able to make the adjustments, etc. And then go from there, or not if you don't want to.
You can do it either way. That's it. That's it.
I mean, the bottom line is, if an accountant is less of a support burden, certainly after the initial period with any product, whereas the individual will be on the phone or sending us emails every 3 months going, how do I open it?
Yeah.
And that's just a fact.
So do you have different pricing for agents and individuals because of the level of support?
It's £40 per up to 5. So if you're only filing for your own business, it's still £40. We've got over 15,000 users using the VAT filer, so we're quite good at dealing with the support in that respect. We quite closely monitor and get reports on error messages and sort of choke points that we try and address on a regular basis. And I think I'm not suggesting anyone's going to do it better. I suspect all software houses, when you first start MTD, filing for MTD quarterly, whether you're an agent or an individual, there's going to be choke points and difficulties and misunderstandings. People like yourselves that are trying to engage with it before the process starts. People will be phoning up on the 7th of August going, oh my God, can I buy some software? And it's everything in between. So we don't charge differently. We just deal with the support differently. An accountant knows what they're doing. They're phoning up going, this doesn't make sense, or why isn't this working, rather than where do I put X?
So another question coming through on pricing, that £40 is per year, so we'll
covers the tax year.
Tax year. And for agents, is there a point at which there's a bulk buy? So 45 clients, £40 for 5 clients. If so,
I think that's the sales question,
Dave.
I've had a few that's bought over 100 licenses already, and I've offered a 20% discount.
So there is
yes.
the facility for a bulk discount, depending on the number of clients. I think that's the point of the question there, just to know that yes, that is a possibility. And okay, so I was going to ask this question at the end, but this probably feels like a natural point to ask it. If somebody was feeling like, oh, I would like to explore this, and I have X number of clients, and etc., who is the best person to contact? How should somebody contact you guys? Is there one email address? Ashley looks like, please say Dave.
You can either phone and speak to me, and depending on the nature of the inquiry, I'll quickly identify its technical and pass it over to Sarah or Ash. Or if you just email me, I'll give you my email address and say I'll just distribute it to the best person to answer it, whether that be me or one of the other guys. Who it's just Dave Dave at absolutetax.co.uk.
That's easy to remember. And how big is your team?
Oh, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say. It's about 7.
Yeah.
It's about.
That's
I
a
mean,
nice small team.
obviously Tim and Giles, Tim Good and Giles Mooney have some technical input. We've got a couple of people, well, one full-time employed developer, but we sort of access, like with the website, we just outsource that with some guys who worked for before. Some of the other stuff we outsource, but full-time there's 6 or 7 of us.
So you all know each other and
Very well.
like nice.
Everybody's wedding, everybody's christening,
Yeah.
the whole lot.
And nobody's on holiday on the 7th of August, I assume.
Absolutely not.
Nobody's on holiday for the rest of the year, are they?
I think that's how all of us feel in accountants therapy as well. No more holidays, everything's cancelled. So I have I suppose an existential question. What role do you think bridging software has in MTD?
So I'll go for that one.
Yeah, you can.
Yep. We understand that not all sort of software is suitable for all clients, whether it's based on cost, whether it's based on, there's plenty of packages out there that are very complicated, bells and whistles when you need neither. Bridging software, the VAT return software we do, and others supply, has proven there is a market out there for bridging software for people with simple affairs, and have their own people who don't want things to change too much. They're comfortable with the way they work. They know what they like to do. They don't want to have to learn anything too sophisticated. If they want to keep it simple, whether it be ours or 1, 2, 3 sheets or whoever else, it doesn't. That there is a place for bridging software. So I mean, our view is quite strongly that most accountants, full-time accountants, will probably have a selection of full bookkeeping software, add-ons from the tax return software and bridging. It depends on their clients. He says, hopefully.
I couldn't agree more. I think that bridging software is probably the unsung hero of MTD here. It's that bit that probably started getting me angry in the first place. This thought that everybody is being pushed towards bookkeeping software where actually a spreadsheet can be a completely viable option for a lot of people, and the bridging solutions that are out there are often, as yours is, cost effective for a start and easy to learn.
Yeah.
So with that thought of easy to learn, we have another question that maps into that. The thought of, if you have multiple boxes on the spreadsheet that you're linking to, can you link multiple cells to one category?
No, you've got to have a summary of them. You can only link to one box effectively.
Okay, so your own spreadsheet would need to incorporate.
You'd have to incorporate it. What some people have started doing, especially with the beta, is that they've effectively created like a summary tab on their own spreadsheet.
Which is what you showed us with that one.
And what they'll do is they'll just then only have to do the linking once, because they can get their summary tab to update, and then the only cell they'll have to change on a quarterly basis is the end date, because the start date will always be either the 6th or the 1st of April, and then the end date will change. So you can link it, so you're only linking it once and then just change the end date before you upload.
And in terms of 3-line accounts, so rather than doing a full breakdown, you can do that because all you would then link is just the other expenses box.
The consolidated expenses, that's it.
So yes, that I'm pretty sure applies across all bridging software, that you are essentially just linking what you want to show to HMRC. And again, that's the beauty of it. It's quite a simple concept that you're not having to think what is the software pulling in, because you're pulling it in to tell it exactly what you want to send off. So in answer to that question in the chat now, yes, 3-line accounts possible, because you're going to just map it to one total expense column when you do that. I think you've already covered this. We got a question from Alison about foreign rentals per country. So you've already said that foreign rentals is something that you'd like to add.
Yes.
And that will be broken down per country.
It will be. So the way it will work funny, I had a development meeting yesterday about it, but effectively what you'll have is you'll have the obligation as normal. When you click into the obligation, it will then have each foreign property will have its own foreign business ID effectively, and then you'll drill down into each one and upload the file that way.
And that makes perfect sense. We've had discussions on this in therapy, and so much as we often think of foreign rental as being one qualifying income source, but it won't be, because we would need to break it down on the end tax return for any withholding tax per jurisdiction. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to make the foreign tax credit claims.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll have basically have the foreign, the country code and the foreign property name, and then it'll basically allow you to go in and upload the file per property.
Perfect, makes sense. So tell us a bit more about your roadmap. You've said a few things that are going to change. What else is on the horizon for Absolute in the next few months before launch, and then beyond that, are there any big plans?
So effectively, we're currently working on, like I said, foreign properties and the tax calculation. We're also looking to put some reports in there in terms of you'll be able to report on what's been submitted for which clients. We also want to put a notification system in there where it will email you at the end of each quarter to say that you need to submit for that particular client. And then the next lot of development work will then be on, I suppose, our top-up tax software, where we'll then be making that MTD compliant, but that will work from effectively BSAS onwards. So any client that can use the bridging software will then be able to offload it into top-up and then complete the journey if they need to.
Is that exciting times for you? More development to do? Does it feel like you could just do with a bit of a rest now?
Yeah, I was going to say the plan of a holiday appeals more.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, the agent community will not allow that. We want all the features, all the add-ons, all the capabilities. So you can have your holiday in 10 years' time, I think, maybe.
2030.
Or maybe in April when the HMRC computers all melt down.
We do both at the same
time. So we haven't got any more questions. We've still got 15 minutes left. Is there anything that you would like us to know about your software? Otherwise, my favorite question to ask anybody is, what's your favorite thing about your software? What has been something that you've built or been involved with that you've thought, this is really cool from Absolute?
I think from my point of view, probably the DRK. I think it just makes the process so much easier for individual taxpayers, and also gives something that agents can just send out. Clients can do the login of the work. And because of the way MTD works, where you'll be able to make the accounting adjustments, you can do that adjustment at the end of the year. You upload the income and expenses, and then you can adjust for it as and when you need to. So I think that works really well.
Like that. Dave, you also have to have an answer for this one.
For me, it's not actually the functionality of the software. It's the again, starting with that, but this follows on through. It has had an impact. It's a lot of there's a lot of big boys out there that, you know, well, I can name, but I'm probably not allowed to. That had lots of people believing bridging software wasn't even a viable option. It certainly wouldn't be around 5 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And similar things have been said this time around, but and we've got some really large, happy users, and that makes me happy. I guess.
Sales director says sales makes him happy.
Yeah, that's right. But you know, obviously, as you know, we're owned by Tim and Giles. They're tax lecturers. The last thing they want is people shouting abuse at them in the lecture room or online. So support's always been a key part of what we do. We like to think we're fairly open and honest, and support, you know, customer service overall is important to us. Someone's going to ask me a question I don't know the answer to in a second.
Well, we've got two questions have just come in, so let's test you, Dave. You can answer these ones. You're not allowed to give them to Ashley. So we've covered about foreign property income. How about foreign self-employment income? Is there anything that we need to know about how that would be dealt with Absolute, and whether or not there's function to put in withholding tax on there?
There isn't at the minute. That would be something that we would say you would do through a tax return package. So that would be something that, from our point of view, we'd be looking to put into top up rather than the bridging.
Makes sense. And then a license question. So this probably isn't. Do you see how Ashley answered that one for you, Dave?
Yeah. Thank goodness. I didn't have a question. Yeah.
This one is probably a sales question. So Do you use more than one license for different types of income, or is it just one license? So if somebody is a landlord and self-employed as well, they can use just the one license
Yeah,
for
it's tied to one national insurance number.
Okay, and or in terms of your pricing, you can
Yeah.
have up to 5
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
insurance numbers on that. That's good. That's a really simple answer, isn't it? I'm going to give everybody one more minute to ask any other questions that they have. Otherwise, is there anything else you'd like us to know?
Not about these stuff. I mentioned earlier on, I believe you're doing a new website for accountants.
Yes. Yep. Has launched.
And we've offered Tim Good designs 6 or 7 tax apps. So the one that's flying off the shelves at the moment is obviously related to the dividend and salary specifically. And then when they realise the changes, maybe having a look at the incorporation plan. But we bundle them all together. Normally they're about £400. You can buy them all together off our website for £250. But you guys, as long as you identify yourselves as, you probably have to send me an email. But if you identify yourselves as members of Accountants Therapy, we'll do all 6 for £150.
That's really awesome. Thank you very much. And members, you can access that by going onto the website, logging in and navigating to partner offers. I think that's what the tab is called at the moment. And you will see Absolute there. And leaves me to say, really appreciate that you've put that offer forward for our members. I think it's been amazing to see your engagement with our community, and that extends to an offer is really lovely. So thank you very much for that. So, without any other questions, I think we can wrap up here. And again, to say thank you so much for coming and showing us your software today. I've really enjoyed seeing it. We will have the recording for this. I will make sure that the sound is improved for that recording so that we've got a really nice demo resource for future. If anybody has any other questions on Absolute and they think of them just as we end the webinar, of course, both Dave and Ashley are part of Accountants Therapy. So tag them, don't tag me, tag them with the questions, sales questions to Dave, technical questions to Ashley, it seems. And we'll see you later in therapy. So thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that.